They got a tiny taste of the attention and spotlight and pressure that Caitlyn Clark got and folded up. It's a game of mental pressure, and women fold easier than men. That's not a knock on women. It's just explaining the differences between us.
The WNBA is concluding a remarkable season, with interest and ratings for women's tournaments surpassing those of men's events.
WNBA, as we all know, is wrapping up this remarkable season of growth and interest. And it comes off the heels of what Caitlyn Clark helped achieve at Iowa for the last couple of years, those remarkable ratings, the women's tournament outrating the men's. But there have been some growing pains as well, right? And we've seen a lot of it on social media. We've seen tensions between fans and players. We've seen the league and the Players Association, tensions with the media. We've seen issues touching on homophobia and misogyny and racism. So when you think about the big picture and the Caitlyn Clark effect and what's going on in the WNBA, what stands out to you right now?
In the thrilling Game 5 of the WNBA Finals, players like Sabrina Ionescu and Brianna Stewart experienced a fraction of the pressure Caitlyn Clark faces each game.
This fold job that just went on in the WNBA Finals in Game 5, really in Game 4 and 5, but particularly in Game 5. Sabrina Ionescu, Brianna Stewart, all the rest of them that played in that game, even on the Minnesota Lynx, all of them. They got a taste, a tiny, tiny taste of the kind of pressure that Caitlyn Clark has been under all season. The kind of pressure and spotlight that Caitlyn Clark has been under all season. And what happened? They folded.
Recent reports indicate that Caitlyn Clark could receive a lucrative offer, akin to those seen by sports icons like Lionel Messi.
It has just been reported today that Caitlyn Clark could receive a Lionel Messi-like offer to play in Unrivaled startup 3-on-3 league, which is a full court press to sign her. Now, Unrivaled, like we've talked about in previous videos, it's a 3-on-3 league. It starts up in January. 30 players go to Miami. They play there for 6 weeks. And it was just announced recently that Unrivaled struck a television deal with TNT.
While players are finally gaining the attention they've long sought, some performances in high-stakes games have raised questions about their readiness for the spotlight.
They get a tiny bit of the attention that they've all been clamoring for. Oh, we've made this league and it's not just one player. We should be treated, they should be celebrating us rather than Caitlyn Clark. We're on the Olympic team. That spotlight came, Game 5, big game. People were interested. The WNBA finally has some attention. Sabrina Ionescu goes 1 of 19 from the field. It's one of the worst performances we've ever seen, if not the worst performance we've ever seen from a so-called elite athlete in a championship game performance. Have we ever? Think it through. Help me out. Hop in the chat, hop in the comments. Tell me where we've ever seen a so-called Olympian, elite, someone considered for face of the league, all on television commercials everywhere. Oh, she's a star. She's a legend. If things were right, if the world wasn't so, she would be Kobe Bryant. She would be Allen Iverson. Game 5, 1 of 19 from the field. Missed 13, 14 straight shots. Finished 1 of 19. Played like dog doo-doo. Under the spotlight and the kind of attention Caitlyn Clark has seen in every game since about her senior year in college. Her entire senior year in college, covering the sport of women's college basketball and now covering the WNBA. We ever seen Caitlyn Clark fold up like that, the way Sabrina Ionescu did? Brianna Stewart, one of the people that, oh yeah, when Caitlyn Clark gets here, we'll see if she can handle. Brianna Stewart gets the spotlight. looks like hot garbage. 4 of 15 from the field. Took 6 steps before getting off that junk shot that they sent her to the free throw line. Had to be bailed out by the referees. Had missed 2 free throws earlier. Had missed free throws earlier in the series in a big spot.
The recent championship game showcased the difficulty of handling pressure, with some athletes faltering under the intense scrutiny.
These women folded up. They got a tiny taste of the attention and spotlight and pressure that Caitlyn Clark got and folded up. I had a buddy of mine asked me, no, it wasn't a buddy of mine. He's a friend of mine, but he works with me, Justin. This morning's like, how is Breanna Stewart one of the all-time great players in the WNBA? And if she is, what does that say about the WNBA? Because anybody that watched this entire playoff series was trying to figure out, Breanna Stewart's one of the all-time greats? Really? What am I missing here? What's going on? I don't see anything nice, spectacular, interesting about her game, unstoppable about her game. Nothing. Folded up, got the attention they said they wanted, and couldn't perform. It was a choke job, and the refs had to come in and hand them the series. Minnesota Lynx players, not to the degree of Ionescu and Breanna Stewart, but they folded up too. That was a god-awful performance. They got the whole what's left of the WNBA basketball world. They got 1.5 million, who knows how many viewers tuning in to their Game 5 finals game. Big crowd in Madison Square Garden, Spike Lee sitting courtside, all these celebrities sitting courtside, blowing off Sunday Night Football to be there to watch these women perform.
In a low-scoring overtime match, it was evident that not every player can deliver the extraordinary performances expected of Caitlyn Clark.
And they put on a 67-62 overtime garbage display. Folded. Couldn't take the heat that Caitlyn Clark takes every single game. Caitlyn Clark plays in front of a sold-out arena that shows up to see her every single game. They want to see a magical performance from her every single game. Everybody talking about her, big television ratings for her games, all of that every single night. And came out and had one of the greatest rookie seasons in the history of the WNBA. Led the league in assists, averaged 19 points a game, helped her team qualify for the playoffs. Never folded up the way these women folded up once they got the attention and spotlight that they said they wanted. They couldn't handle it. This is one of the differences between men and women. Pressure busts pipes. And some people's pipes aren't built as sturdily as XY people's pipes. You don't have to like it, but it's just a fact. Men handle pressure better than women. That's a fact. There's a reason why, and it's not racism, it's not homophobia, it's not anti-Semitism. There is a reason why. In the game of chess that's been around forever, the best players have always been men. And women haven't been able to compete with the best chess players. It's a game of mental pressure. And women fold easier than men. That's not a knock on women. It's just explaining the differences between us. Some people panic under pressure. Some people don't. Men panic too. But women panic at a higher rate. And that's why these women played like hot garbage. They got a little taste of what Caitlyn Clark gets on an every night basis and collapsed.
The WNBA's commitment to inclusivity is commendable, but the harsh realities of social media scrutiny continue to challenge its players.
Yeah, I mean, personally, the WNBA is such an inclusive league. So for me to see the vitriol that's out there on social media and the players having to deal with it and deleting their accounts and to have an app that does it for them now, and just to really have to deal with this every day when all they want to do is go out and play the game, I think it's terrible, and I feel for them. And first of all, a lot of them need social media to help in terms of their marketing capabilities. And so it's difficult for them. They shouldn't have to go through it. I've been so impressed with the product on the court. Over 200% viewership increase since Caitlyn Clark has come in. And it's not just Caitlyn Clark, it's Angel Reese, and it's so many more of them as well. And we can go back to the college basketball and the NIL. That's really what helped in terms of making Caitlyn Clark's profile even greater than it was, and the way she's been able to be out there and what she's been able to carry out onto the court. By the way, you can just look to that shot by Ionescu the other day. That was incredible. That scene was awesome. Minnesota was rocking. It was a packed house. That's what I love to see from the WNBA. That product is awesome, and they are really growing.
I think what's great with college basketball for women is they stay for 4 years. So we get to know Paige Beckers. We're going to get to know Juju. We're going to get to know all of these players, whereas college basketball is really not interesting during the regular season because we didn't wait for somebody to come back their sophomore year or their junior year. We were treated to Tim Duncan staying 4 years, Patrick Ewing staying, Christian Laettner. It doesn't happen. Women's basketball, that person will be back the following season and probably the following season after that.
It appeared that the WNBA was somewhat unprepared for the level of excitement and attention Caitlyn Clark would bring to the league.
And then, so we already know you going into the WNBA. It almost felt like the WNBA wasn't ready for what Caitlyn Clark was going to bring with her. And that meant you were going to have people not familiar with the WNBA. I was shocked that fans were shocked, so-called fans, with the physicality of the WNBA. You clearly haven't watched the WNBA. They are physical. And all of a sudden, it's Caitlyn Clark's getting roughed up. Well, there's a variety of players who get roughed up. Watch the games, watch other games. It felt like they were zeroing in on our little Caitlyn Clark and she's getting roughed up. Was she? Yes. But that's the physicality of this. She's a wonderful player. She brought a lot of eyeballs. And because of that, she brought a lot of opinions. It's almost be careful what you ask for. And I don't think the WNBA was truly ready for what was going to happen with the casual fan coming in.
It kind of brings us back to 1997, right? When Tiger Woods broke through at the Masters as a 21-year-old, that remarkable performance. And I'm trying to think, has there been an athlete since Tiger Woods, and of course his impact extended beyond the golf course, but in terms of the way they have generated interest in their game, in their sport, the way that Caitlyn Clark has there been anybody else, and I'll put you on the spot, Adam, that you could think of, in this quarter century plus since Tiger?
No, but here's the thing, Jeremy. Again, this morning we're doing SportsCenter, we're doing Get Up. I'm seeing highlights of the WNBA, and the last time I did Sports Reporters, I don't remember the WNBA being a conversation and talking point. I don't remember that being the case. The fact that it is so prevalent in mainstream highlights that we're talking about it here shows the growth of the sport, shows the power of Caitlyn Clark, shows you how many more people are paying attention to it. I think there are people that come along all the time that capture the imagination of the public.
Caitlyn Clark has undeniably drawn significant attention to women's basketball, becoming a transformative figure in the sport.
Caitlyn Clark has grown all the eyes on that sport, and I don't know that there's a figure that I could think of off the top of my head that has had the influence and the impact that she has had. But again, I just think the whole sport has taken leaps and bounds, so we can talk about them needing leadership and getting used to all the ways that they're being scrutinized, the attention. This all comes along with being a big-time, big league sport.
Now, this exclusive media rights deal is reported to be 45 plus primetime games. TNT Sports are also invested in the league, and sources say that it's a 6-year deal that could be worth more than $100 million. So a lot of the details of this television deal have not been revealed just yet, but there was one unconfirmed report that said that all this money might not be guaranteed to Unrivaled and that they do have viewership goals for this first season and seasons to come. If that is true, then that's something to keep in mind when we talk about the offer that might be given to Caitlyn Clark. Now, this is also interesting to me because I feel like it is kind of late in the game to start recruiting Caitlyn Clark. The Unrivaled League has 26 of their 30 players already, and they have been announcing players for the past 3 months. And there has been speculation throughout the entire WNBA season if Caitlyn Clark would be joining Unrivaled in the offseason. Now, I also said in previous videos that I thought that Caitlyn Clark is needed for this league. It should be one of their main goals is to get her to play in the league no matter what that costs, no matter what that is going to take. I wish that they would have come out publicly months ago and been like, hey, she is one of our biggest goals for this league. We want her there. We think that she would be great for the league. We want to welcome her fans to the league, but they didn't do any of that. And in the same vein, they were also liking negative comments about Caitlyn Clark from the official Unrivaled basketball Instagram account, like during the season. So all of these things were just not a good look. So to have the tides turn 180 at this very moment, right now, right when the TV deal was announced, maybe there is something to say about now they have this deal. They want to keep this deal. Now they're realizing we might need Caitlyn.
Nafisa Collier, a co-founder of Unrivaled, remarked on the incredible growth that Caitlyn Clark has catalyzed within the game.
Nafisa Collier, who is one of the founders of Unrivaled, had this to say about Caitlyn Clark. She said, it's just so crazy because the growth that Caitlyn has brought to the game, the sheer amount of money that she's making these teams, people are having to move their venues when she comes to play, and she's getting paid like $75,000 a year. She should be one of the top paid players in the world just for the sheer numbers that she's bringing. And I'm glad that a WNBA player is finally saying this out loud, admitting to it, because it has been so clear for so many people the Caitlyn Clark effect that she has had on the WNBA this season. We have talked about it so much on this channel. She has raised overall viewership. Like Nafisa said, they're changing venues just to accommodate all the fans who want to come watch Caitlyn Clark play. The list goes on, but there have been so many players, coaches, media personality who have been so afraid to just admit the fact that Caitlyn Clark has been the sole reason for so many of these things happening this season in the WNBA. And so I'm really glad that Nafisa, being confident enough in herself, knowing that she is arguably the best player in the world, she is able to say these things out loud. However, I do think that this push for Caitlyn Clark has come a little bit late in the game. I want to compare what were the rumblings that we're hearing about the offer that Unrivaled will make to Caitlyn. I want to compare that to what Ice Cube offered Caitlyn before the Big Three season began. I commend Ice Cube because you have to think about the type of egos that play in the Big Three. And I do sideline reporting for the Big Three, for those of you who don't know. So I'm like very well connected. I love working with them. It's a fantastic league. But we have former NBA players playing in Big Three, right? So for Cube to come out and be like, I'm going to pay Caitlyn Clark more than I play any of these guys who used to play in the NBA.
The financial commitment to Caitlyn Clark reflects her immense value in the league, emphasizing her influence even beyond game day performances.
I'm going to pay Caitlyn Clark more because that's the value that I see in her. And he was so unapologetic with the way that he came out and said, this is who we want. This is the value that we see in her, regardless. If she can't make a game, that's totally fine. We know that it coincides with WNBA season. He just came out so unapologetically, knowing that there are legends in our league. We have Dr. J coaching. We have Michael Beasley on the court, Jeff Teague on the court. We have Lisa Leslie, Nancy Lieberman. Like, there are legends among us in the Big Three, and there are high-level former professional athletes on our courts, and he was okay putting it out there because he knew how much it could help the Big Three. And so that's why I feel like I wish Unrivaled would have taken that exact approach. And what it feels like to me is Caitlyn Clark was an afterthought in all of this. And maybe she was, maybe she wasn't, maybe they wanted to wait until after the WNBA season. But when you're making such a buzz about all of these other players who are joining and you're just not saying anything about Caitlyn, or you're not putting aside whatever millions of dollars need to be had to get her into your league, I feel like it was a missed opportunity. 3-on-3 is already hard to get more people involved in. You're doing a brand new kind of 3-on-3 on a shorter court. It's brand new. It's going to be hard to get eyeballs on it. All of these, I mean, the WNBA is in their 28th season and it's still a new league. Like, it's hard to get the kind of virality, viewership, all the things that you want right off the bat. And especially if you don't have a big name or a big draw, you know, I'll say it until I'm blue in the face. I think Caitlyn was that person that they absolutely needed.